So back in 2009, this government wiped $400 million out of early childhood education. They wiped it in a budget back in 2009, $400 million out of early childhood education. In this budget, they have provided $75 million over the next 4 years. How lovely. That's great. But it doesn't anywhere near go the amounts that they withdrew. Let's have a talk about the training incentive allowance. The training incentive allowance that this government removed from single-parent students, and that had a value of approximately $4,500 a year. And in this budget, single-parent family students will get $25 a week. That's lovely. That's about $1,000. $53 million inside this budget for the continuation of trying to fix a lemon called NovaPay. The increase to the operations grant for state schools inside this budget over the next 4 years is $42 million. That equates to about $10.7 million per year for the next 4 years, on top of for the operations grant increase for state schools, around about 1%. Power's increased by 3.6% in the same time frame, but that's about 1%. So it's an interesting budget, Mr. Speaker, because you have to drill down past the spin and the rhetoric and the marketing dollars that have been put here, and actually have a look across the last 6 years at what this budget does. Now, here's another thing. This is another press release from the Minister of Education. It's about $62.9 million of operating funding over the next 4 years. Now, $39.5 million is going to go to provide ongoing resource scheme or support for about 500 extra students. And that's lovely. There's more students, of course. There's more students inside our schools. That's why we're building 2 more schools. So actually, it's not more support for current students. It's actually an increase in budget because we've got more students. The next thing we've got is this is going to pay for specialists such as speech language therapists, psychologists, physiotherapists and occupational therapists. That'd be brilliant, brilliant, except we haven't got enough of them. We haven't got enough of them, Mr. Speaker, because support has been withdrawn from our student body, from our tertiary education provision, and these are not target areas. And we now have a shortage through that sort of withdrawal of support and bad workforce planning. We don't have enough speech language therapists when schools call for them. We don't have enough psychologists. And so when schools reach out trying to help the young people inside their schools, because now we've got a wraparound service and the RTLBs have all been shifted off into goodness knows where, now when schools reach out for psychologists, for example, you can't get one to show up. $23.3 million for extra in-class teacher aid support for 1,500 students, special needs education such as dyslexia. The Dyslexia Foundation tells us that there are up to 70,000 school children who actually are affected by dyslexia, 1 in 10 New Zealanders, and this funding is going to help 1,500 students. This once-over lightly sprinkle of assistance devalues the need that is out there. It's crumbs from a quite well-laden table when you have a look at the priorities that this government has decided. There's absolutely nothing inside this budget for the professional development for early recognition of dyslexia, dyspraxia or Asperger's when those students show up at school. There's absolutely nothing inside of this budget to provide extra support inside early childhood and early identification and professional development. There is absolutely nothing inside of this budget. In 2009, the gifted and talented funding was taken away, Mr. McIndoe. In 2009, the advisory groups were disbanded. In 2009, targeting funding for innovative programs around talent development initiatives were abandoned. There is nothing inside this report for gifted and talented children. Where's the tagged funding for gifted and talented children? This government that came in saying it had aspirational goals for our students removed well above from national standards. Now, I don't even like national standards, but how aspirational is it that apparently no longer anybody's going to be well above? You're either well below, at, or above, but there's nothing for gifted and talented. The reality of this budget and 6 years' worth of work by this government is a shift of the cost around our free to the end user primary and secondary education. It's now being passed on to our parents. This is what is the reality of this government's budgets over the last 6 years.